Thank you so much. Okay. So I definitely want to, not keep you have a team that's in like full momentum right now. So I can't even tell you how grateful I am that you are willing to come and chat with the jewels on my team. I feel like, Dawnalea, when did you get started in your business?
March 2014.
Okay, so I was August 2015. So we're a little, I started a little bit before you. But we have a lot of our jewels here that I feel like our businesses, I think that you dealt with a little bit more cross recruiting, but I feel like momentum wise, we've probably been about the same as far as growth and stuff.
Yep.
So we are just here for it. Like, you did something that I have never honestly, like, when nobody ever done anything like what you and your people did last
Yeah.
month. And I feel like you guys did it in a way that was that it's not going to fall apart. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It wasn't like a crazy push that this month it's going to all unravel and you're going to have a bunch of people going like, what was even the point? But y'all did it in such a smart, strategic way that it's going to continue to carry on momentum. We are here for it.
All right. Hey guys, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm Dawnalea. I've been with Plexus since 2014, so 6 years now. I've been Diamond for 5 years. And so like many of you, probably, your business will have momentum. It will have peaks. It will have valleys. And I had been in, I would say, a valley for about the last year. So a little bit of my story. So last April was the last time that I held Diamond. And if you have lost rank, you know what that does to your mindset, your heart. For me, I felt like in a way that I might never get back there. And the worst part was that I was actually okay with that. I felt okay with still making a decent check. And the more and more months went by, I was like, well, it's okay. Like, still make a really good paycheck. I support our family. We can still do the things that we need. And it just felt like regaining my rank was just so far away. Like, I would never, ever, ever get there. But it scared me more because I was like, well, it's okay. And so going into last month, and my mind is still blown, like with what happened. It was just, I will tell you, it was just multiple things coming together at once that just hit the most perfect lightning strike of events for our team. But so going into it, I had ended March around 3,800 points. And I thought, you know what? Because the last couple months I was kind of around there, and I finally felt hope that I could actually get back to where I wanted to be. And at my peak, I was at 7,000, 8,000 points. So over the years, I had lost half my business. And I, like Melissa said, our team had been hit really hard with cross recruiting. I had an Emerald leave. I had multiple senior rubies leave over the years, most specifically over the last 2 years. And you know how that feels. I feel like if you haven't, you will. I think it's just a part of the business, unfortunately. And it's how you handle it, whether or not you're going to be able to move forward. And so that took a lot of personal growth. So I feel like a lot of things came together for this month. So going into April, I had like this little bit of hope. I was like, you know what? I'm so much closer, maybe in my goal. It's so funny how we make our goals so much smaller than they should be. And I'm all about making keeping your goals reasonable and attainable because we want wins. But it was so easy for me to be like, you know what? I just want to get to 4,000 points because then I'll be back over it and it'll make me happy. And that was it. And I felt like I could probably do that. And I think so many times we don't reach further than we actually need to. And we need to push ourselves so much more. So going into it, that was my goal. And about a week into the month, I just had this rush of hope that I hadn't had in a really, really long time. And I was excited for my business again. And my team was getting excited for their businesses. And I thought, you know what? I think we need to do it this month. Let's just get everybody together and let's just go for it. And I think everybody had the same idea, like wherever you are, let's get to the next rank. Let's get everyone re-ranked. And I just had so much hope because I really, really feel like the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And as Jules, I think it's easy for us, even when we're in momentum, to get complacent. And I think that that's the most dangerous thing we can ever do in our business. We can get frustrated. You know, every conversation we have, people watch what we say, how we act, especially when it comes to, you know, when you're in your valley, what you say to your team in that time is so important. So over the years, I had made a big leap in just, you know, emotional maturity and knowing how to handle difficult conversations and, you know, things like that. So anyway, so just to give you some numbers, I ended March 3,795 points. And in April, I ended with over 5,600 points. So that's a jump of 1,800 points. I know, it's insane, in 1 month. So when I was in full momentum, when I had just ranked Diamond in 2015, the highest jump that I had ever made was about probably 600-700 points. All of my jewels, I had 5 jewels last month. They all grew by over 1,000 points. So I had 2 level 1 emeralds, a level 2 sapphire, a level 3 emerald, and then a level 4 emerald. And all of them, again, ended over 1,000 points. My husband being one of them, who I really, 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 like, that's my baby. Like, that's my team. So his account had been at Senior Ruby for 5 years. Again, it had a lot of momentum, and then it just kind of sat there. And again, on that account, he was steady every month, anywhere between 750 points to 1,000 points. It was a great check. It was enough to feel comfortable, but there just wasn't a lot of, I don't want to say ambition on my part, but there just wasn't the push and the consistency that it needed to be. And I think if you're wanting to grow, you have to have those honest conversations with yourself. And I think too, like if you're going to push for something, you have to prepare your family too. Like, hey, listen, I'm going to be busier. Tell your husband, tell your partner, tell your kids, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it, because what I'm going to go through with you guys and what we did is going to take a lot of time and commitment. But I know you guys can do it. So number 1 was mindset. I was in a terrible, terrible mindset. I would say probably from January, February, and March. And I was complacent, and it was dangerous. We had a lot of stressful events in our family. We had just moved into a new house in December. We had a massive roof leak that destroyed our living room wall. That was just fixed last week. So we weren't able to use part of our house. In January, I lost our son. I was pregnant, and I miscarried. In February, we had a huge tornado in Tennessee that destroyed multiple of our communities. And it just set the tone for sadness and depression and like spiraling in a way that for me wasn't healthy. Like I couldn't give my team the love and encouragement that they needed because I wasn't in a good place. So if you're wanting to grow, you have to be okay first, and you have to do whatever it takes to get to that place to be able to give to your team the way you need. And then of course, like all of us in March, COVID, you know, sheltering in place, all the things that came with that, all the emotions. So I just said, you know what, I'm done with that. In April, I just had this hope. So we have to find that hope again and that excitement for our business. And it's so easy to not have that, especially if you've been struggling, you've lost your points. And I would always hear people say, like, your points, like that doesn't equate to who you are as a person. But for me, like that was my identity. And I think that we have to really, really actually like process what that means and push past it, because your points are not your identity. Your points are just your points. And if I wish somebody would have told me when I first started that your points are going to fluctuate. They're not always going to be this. They're not always going to be that. You can make a comeback. You can go down in points. You know, I think that we always expect to be in full momentum once we get that. And that's just not the reality of the business we're in. So I think it's important to consider what we do. Like retail. Retail has peaks. They have valleys. And that, you know, when we open our doors, we're going to have the same thing. So mindset. But the mindset went even deeper, that you had to be able to actually believe that your team could do it. And I think a lot of times we will assume that certain people have the ability and certain people don't have the ability. And I've been guilty of that, you know, not working with people who I considered were my runner or who wouldn't be runners. So just working with the runners. And I think it's super smart to triage your team and work with the right people. But I think a lot of times in doing that, we miss people and we don't give them what they need and that encouragement and motivation. And then also, you know, we instantly started about a week into April having the conversation that everybody was going to add 3. Everybody is going to earn the impact initiative, the stimulus. Everybody's going to earn it. That was the conversation that we were having. There was no change in tone. It was just, this is what we're doing. Everybody's adding 3. And I think that really helped to get people excited about what that would look like if everybody on their team added 3. People started seeing that they were seeing numbers that they've never seen before, and they were able to visualize those numbers. So, you know, when we do things, it happens first in our mind and first in our actions. So we have to be able to visualize that first. So really pushing our team to see, like, you're going to add 3, everyone on your team's going to add 3, and this is what that's going to look like for you. I think the second big thing was prayer. A lot of our team, myself included, would wake up and pray over their business every single day. They would pray for direction. They would pray for the Lord to bring in the right people at the right time. And a lot of times it's not the timing that we feel like is right, but really praying over the business, praying for leads, asking for people to come in. And then the other thing they specifically were asking for was, you know, there's a lot of people who are struggling. So asking, you know, if this is where I'm supposed to be, either show me a way or show me the door. And for a lot of them, they got this really strong confirmation that they were supposed to be here because they had people coming to them that they never would have expected wanted to do what we're doing or need the product. So they just had this like enlightening, which I think is so powerful as a team. So a lot of them were doing that, myself included. And then the other thing was one-on-one Zoom. So I sat down and I said, you know, what was something that I did when I first started? And I did a lot of one-on-one Zooms for the first couple years. And then I got away from that. And I got away from it because I thought that I could grow my leaders and do the things I needed to do in a smarter way and do it in groups and do it in chats. But I felt like they weren't connecting to me anymore. Like we didn't have time to catch up. I would throw a couple things in the chat and expect them to get it or look at it, but I just wasn't having that connection and community that our team really needed. So I decided to do one-on-one Zooms. I probably did about 50. So I got with all my level 1s. I have about 40 level 1s between me and my husband's team that work the business, who are either dabblers or they're like in it to win it. So I got with all of them, and I even got with my people who are just wholesale. And I got with them and I said, what are your health goals? What are your business goals? You know, are you interested in a fresh start? And I would say about half of them then took me up on a Zoom. And the way that my Zooms look is I will open up their virtual office and we'll go through every single person in their virtual office. How do you know this person? You know, what does this person do? You know, what did they come into Plexus for? And then we would make a plan for every single person. And if it was somebody who, you know, they just said, hey, I've reached out to them 100 times, like they're done. Okay, great. Well, let's just send them the cancellation link or let's get them removed. But if there was some sort of hope within their relationship with this person, we would reach out to them. So when they got off that Zoom, I would make sure that they knew what to say, how to say it, so that they had a game plan. And I think a lot of times, you know, we all look for like the self-starter and people who are self-motivated and they just like get it. Cause I feel like I was kind of that person. But those people are really rare. Like we have to do so much more work with our team than what we expect. And a lot of times our expectations of them, like we'll sign someone up and we'll add them to the team pages, and then we'll tag them in like the first post, and then we just kind of expect them to do it, right? And so many times they don't, or they feel overwhelmed. And I think in getting away from the one-on-one Zooms, I lost that connection with my people. So we would, when they got off the Zoom, they would have a plan. They would know exactly what to say, whether they're reaching out for a health test or to share a health testimony or get their testimony, business. And we would just go through it like that. And I would probably talk with them for about an hour, and then I would spend 30 minutes creating scripts for them and giving it to them. And then I would tell them, hey, if you're willing to post every single day for the rest of the month, one personal post, one Plexus post, I'm going to send you a gift card. at the end of the month. And then that motivated people. And I think it was just complementing that right behavior that we want. We want people to be active. And the whole idea of the month was setting everybody up to add 3, but also getting everybody into work. Because once those wheels start rolling, it's a lot harder to stop the train versus really trying to get one person going and one here. So it was a lot of work. And I did a lot of one-on-one Zooms with my leaders too. So we have a leaders chat. So anybody who's gold or above, or anybody who's shown a lot of promise, they're thrown into a chat with me and my sister, who's also a diamond. So her and I, we kind of mentor them in there, and we keep a lot of excitement going. So they're put into that chat. So then I really watch that chat closely to see if anybody seemed frustrated, maybe somebody who wasn't growing as quickly as someone else, because the first line of growth that we saw was people earning that first stimulus. And when they would earn that first stimulus, then we would push them, hey, you know what? You could totally do 6. You just added 3. Why not add 3 more? So they were getting that encouragement from everybody at the same time in that group. Everyone just kind of came together and loved on them. But if somebody wasn't getting that, or they seemed a little frustrated or confused, I would reach out to them and I would say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom. And sometimes I would do it the same day. And some of those people, you know, they were like not holding rank. They were frustrated. You know, I mean, we know how it goes. So when they got off, they would have this amazing game plan. And a lot of them went on to earn the 6, you know, to take their ranks again. And they're super excited for this month. So a lot of times all it takes is for us to slow down and connect with them one-on-one, because that's what they want. When you have somebody and you're a jewel and you say, hey, I want to mentor you, they're going to listen and they're going to be excited, and they just need that TLC, especially if it's somebody who you consider to be a runner or someone. And some of these Zooms were like with level 5s and 6s, but they had so much potential that I felt like they were worth investing in. Okay, so the other thing that we did in our chat, so I was telling Melissa this, we really only have one chat, and that's where our people go into. And there are some things that my girls did, and I'm going to share that too with separate chats, but like my focus was this one chat, and every day we would share our daily intentions. So what that looked like was they would share where they wanted to be points-wise every day. I think we will often say, oh, I want to have 300 points at the end of the month and like 100 on my outside leg. But we had them and encouraged them to do that every single day. Like, hey, where are your points at today? Where do you want to be by the end of the day? Because then that gets them into action right away that same day. They're working away. They're figuring out how to get those points every single day. And when they got there, we would make a big celebration. We'd be super excited for them. Lots of hearts and different things, you know, that we throw into the chats. Lots of, you know, my sister and I messaging them directly like, hey, that was amazing. What did you do? Because we just want them to feel appreciated and seen. So we, you know, maybe they would say like, oh, I want 300 points today. Okay, great. Well, I think you could do 350 points a day. You know, who do you know, what does that look like? Whose subscription didn't go out? Whose perks is going to expire? Things like that. And again, in there, we were really having that conversation over and over again about them adding 3 people. Everybody can do this. And when you have that conversation going on your team, oh, everyone can do this. Everyone's adding 3. Add your mom, your sister, your grandma, whoever, you know, people will do it, because if they don't, they feel like they're missing out. And that fear of missing out, I really think made a big difference in our team last month. And then we changed the conversation to add 6, you know, because we wanted them to feel like they could do it. Because again, I think we set our goals too small. And a lot of these girls, it wasn't until the middle of the month when they realized they had already done so much work halfway through that their points were higher. And they thought, oh my God, I'm going to dream bigger now. I actually can go senior ruby. I can go emerald. So the conversation shifted even more. So the other thing was, you know, sharing them to, or encouraging them to share every day. So some of my leaders, I did not do this, but some of my girls decided to take each team, so each leg of their team, and what they did was they created their own chats for those. So anybody who was brand new or anybody who said, hey, I want to make $300 or $600, they went in this chat. And every day they would give them ideas of what to post, scripts to say to people, And if they, again, added their 3 people and got the stimulus, there would be a really big deal made of that. But also, the idea was that we wanted them to get into action for the rest of the month. So if they did that, then they would earn a gift card, and they used multiple different gift cards, but that would incentivize them to do that. And a lot of them were very strict. Like, if you don't post and we check, then you're going to be out of the group, because they really wanted to keep working with the people who wanted it. And because it was like spoon fed to them. So they had the scripts, they had the posts. There was really no excuse not to do it. And I think too, a lot of times we don't hold our people accountable enough. And I think even as Jules, like, we need that accountability. And sometimes we don't get that accountability. So if we can't lead ourselves, we can't lead our teams. And that was really like something that hit me, like, okay, I probably am not leading myself very well. And I need to be sure that I can lead my team. So a lot of times you have to slow down and figure out that also with your people, like, who's holding them accountable, you know? Maybe you have somebody there who's like a couple dead legs in between, and maybe they're rocking and rolling, but they're not being held accountable. And people need that to grow. They really need somebody to take them under their wing and hold them accountable. So these chats did just that, and they were able to continue to move into their business and go silver and add 3 and add 6 and so on. The other thing I really talk to people about, like on the Zooms, but also in the chats, is doing that intentional work in your virtual office. I have people and like leaders who won't even open their virtual office till like the very end of the month. And that's not being a leader, because you know, I don't think that it's a responsibility to remind somebody who's at 96 PV to meet their PV so they can get their paycheck. But I do think that there's things that we need to be doing and running our reports to see where we're at, because we need to know our business. So I help them to understand how to do that. So they also need to know how to work their perks reports. It's an amazing reason to reach out to people, because you're doing it because there's value for them in it. Like, hey, you're going to lose this. Did you know that with this amount of perks, you could pick one of these free things? And a lot of times they don't know. They don't know, especially if they're wholesale. And then subscriptions. What we would do is we would look at the subscriptions every single day, and the ones that wouldn't go out, if they either had a track record of going out, there was especially someone they wanted to connect with. But if it was something that, you know, for the last 6 months hasn't ran, then they were encouraged to reach out to that person in a different way and offer them a fresh start, talk to them about their health goals. You know, maybe it was someone that maybe you weren't directly working with, but they were still encouraged to reach out to them and introduce themselves and say, hey, I'd love to help you if you have any health or financial goals. We have this amazing community. We have a great system for you. And that conversation got the ball rolling. But I think too, you know, just working that back office and knowing where you're at. Like, I sat down with my sister the other day, and she's Diamond Laura Robinson, if you're trying to like put us together. Or in the middle of the month, we were like, what do we do when we were like just starting? And we were crazy over our back office. We were crazy. We always knew our numbers. We knew whose subscriptions were going out. We knew who didn't go out. We knew how we needed to incentivize them, if possible, to get them to go out. So what we did early on is, if it was somebody who, you know, every month ends at like 97 PV, they're like a religious 96 PV or a 60 PV, then we said, you know what will incentivize this person to move forward and order another product this month? So we picked 2 products that we felt like gave instant results. Oh, no, 3, I'm sorry. So it was either Active, Joyo, like the day or night serum, the 30-day because it's cheaper, and Ease. So we said, okay, for these people who were either, I think it was like 60 or 70 PV, and they were like religious and ordering like this, we messaged them, or we encouraged our team to message them. And we said, hey, we would love to gift you this free product this month. You know, we really appreciate your continued support. You know, which of these would you like? And then those people were either sent an incentive code, or they were sent a Venmo or a PayPal or however you do it, and they were encouraged to order. And I really feel like sometimes you have to spend money to get money. And especially, I really encourage my people to invest 10% of their earnings back into their business every month. Like, look what Plexus does, right? Don't we reinvest like 40 or 60% of our earnings back into the company every month? Like, we need to be thinking like a business owner. What can we do? And if these people fall in love with a new product, guess what? You're going to have a steady 100 PV every single month. And maybe they're not, but it's still a tax write-off for you. So there's still, incentive for you as well. So we did that. And so if we knew someone's subscription didn't process, or it processed on the 7th every month and they were only at 70 PV, then we knew the likelihood of them actually going in and order something different this month was very unlikely. So they were incentivized early on in the month. And we encouraged our people to do this. So either they were in stacked incentives or, however they did it. My sister offered a $10 off sign up for her 1 through 3s towards the end of the month. So we would just look at each team where they were at and what the leader was doing to get people to order. I would say last month I probably spent $500 to incentivize my people, which I don't think is a lot at all when you look at an emerald spouse leg, a diamond leg. So look at your people, who has a potential to take a jewel rank this month or a senior ruby rank or a higher rank, and how can you help them? Like, how can you help them to get there? Because the whole month I kept asking myself, how can we get people wins? We need people to be winning every single day that we can celebrate them, because when you look back when you were in full momentum, you probably had recognition like almost every day come into your team page and your chats, and people were excited, and momentum fuels momentum. So we kept saying we have to get people wins right away. And if you can help your team win, especially somebody who you really respect as a leader, they are going to be a solid leader for you. And if you can just help them invest that little bit, I think it's really going to make a difference down the road. The other thing was power hours. I personally did not lead one of these this month, so I don't want to take credit for it. But some of my girls that did make the jewel ranks were doing them every third day. So they were getting on their team page. And I really think it's smart to do one in the middle of the day, one in the evening, and then maybe one in the morning to capture the different times for your team. But they were doing that every single week. Their team knew they would get on and they would work, and they would have scripts ready for their team. They would have post ideas. They would do all of their follow-ups together. Customer service is so important. And they would get people working and moving. Okay, so the other thing was systems. And the one thing that I think I've struggled with over the years is having a good system for my people. We would start a system and maybe do it for like 2 months, and then we would switch it and we'd go to something else. And people didn't have enough time to get it, because to get all of your leaders on board, I really feel like it takes a good 4 to 6 months for people to get it, digest it, kind of marinate on it. Do they like it? Do they not like it? Implement it, see if it duplicates, and then see if ultimately the goal is either it's duplicating or it's helping with retention on your team. And the one thing that I found over the years is that we have to help people get into action and get wins. Those are like the winning combination for any system. So what we really focused on this month was teaching our team how to handle objections, how to handle hesitations, handling someone's doubts, so that they felt confident with any conversation. Because a lot of times what slows our people down is if they get a no, or someone says it's too expensive, or Plexus is a scam, or whatever it may be, they tend to get distracted and feel like it was a very negative interaction, and they stop, right? So if we could equip them with what to say for each of those hesitations, and they would feel a lot more confident moving forward. So that was a conversation that was had with like every leader. And my sister really led that conversation for us. But every leader, every new person, when we were helping them to figure out what to say to people, how to reach out, what post to make, how to follow up, that they had these conversations going, and that they had the ability to block objections. So my sister invested in something called Guide Culture on Instagram. And it is a girl named Macy McNeely, and she's a business coach. And she has this amazing system on handling hesitations. And that is something that my sister invested in. And she, for the last couple months, has been training it to our team. But the entire purpose of it really is just helping your team to handle hesitations, to know how to conquer and move forward through that. And the other thing I think that it really helps is helping you to show empathy. It's very similar to the feel, felt, found. Hey, I understand how you feel. Here's what I found. And it's just connecting the dots for people because, I'm sure all of us had hesitations when we moved into this business. I straight out told my sister it was a pyramid scheme and I wouldn't join her. So I know that a lot of us have actually gone through that ourselves. So we bring a lot to the table in sharing with our own experiences. So I think, if you could just sit down and slow down and figure out, what objections do we get? And, what are some of the best things to say in response to that? And make sure your team has that arsenal either in their phones or saved somewhere, because that's so powerful. And the other thing is knowing what to say when somebody messages you right away. So I tell my people, if someone messages you and says, hey, what's Plexus? Or what are you doing? All the messages that we love because we know what to say, but our team doesn't. I say, hey, stop right there and message me right away. I want to be sure that we answer this correctly, because it's just like a first impression. If you say the wrong thing, they're like, bye, So we really have to master hesitations, but also what we say in that first interaction in a chat, in a video, however we're getting our audience. I think it's really important. So one of the things that she taught was when somebody would message, we would say, in order to save you some time and make sure you're the right fit, do you mind if I ask you some questions? So in order to save you time and make sure that you're the right fit, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And I love that because, for one, it makes them realize this is a business for you. You're not just going to give it away to everybody, right? We want to make sure that they're a good fit for this, because really we're kind of qualifying whether or not these products are something that they're looking for, whether or not it's somebody that you want to work with. Because I'm sure we all know how it is to sign up a level 1 that we actually don't want to work with. And then we want to make sure that they also respect what we do, because so often we're like, oh, here's the info, here you go, take it, are you excited, do you want it? And we're like, we need to reel it in and be professional and also show them that we are going to be respecting their time. And then really you just ask them, hey, what are you struggling with? What have you tried in the past? Things like that. And in listening to that, you're going to be able to decipher what they really want. So, if it's a mom saying I just need energy, I'm not able to play with my kids, or, I don't want to work as much, really the value for them is not necessarily talking about the energy. It's talking about the time they're going to get back with their family, or the time they're going to actually be able to spend because they have the energy. So we have to become better listeners and figure out what this person really wants. Because yes, they might want energy and they might want our active, but the value to them is probably different than the value to us. So we kind of have to slow down. And that's why we wanted this month, all of our people to message us or their leaders to really understand how to respond. And I think that this really changed the game for us in that first interaction, and then handling how we handle their hesitations and objections. Okay, I have a list here, and I had to sit down when Melissa asked me to do this. I'm like, okay, what do we do? Because it's it's just a lot. So I need to write it down. So that's what I'm looking at right now. But I really think the goal in all of this was getting people into action and making sure that they had a map for success. And it was just action, 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 action. The other thing was events. Now, my girls that took these new ranks, the majority of them did anywhere between 20 to 30 events last month. And these events were designed more as a girls' night out, not a Plex the Opportunity event, not something heavy on products. It was a girls' night out, something fun, which I think is speaking to people right now because people want to have that connection. And what they did in there, they did games, they did giveaways, and they did 3 lives. That was it, 3 lives. 3 people went live, talked about their story, but then there was a lot of games, a lot of giveaways, and really they just marketed it like, hey, let's stay healthy during quarantine. Let's have fun. Let's get together. And it wasn't, I've been guilty of running workshops, 3 days to 7 days, and people always drop off over the day 2 or 3. They always seem to drop off. And this was something that it was like a 1-hour event in the evening. And the way that they did it was, as soon as somebody would join their team, they'd be like, hey, let's have a girls' night for you. Invite all your people for tomorrow night, right? So there was no time for them to hesitate. It was like, we're going to have a girls' night tomorrow night. Invite your people. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. And then the goal was to get that person silver in that night. The next day, the goal was to get these people silver, because then they had that win. Oh, hey, guess what? You just earned $300 and something for nothing. So their goal was to let them see, even people who are wholesale, like, hey, you have friends and family that that could really benefit from this. Let's have you a girls' night. Let's do it. It'd be fun. So Katie Cicerelli, who is one of my girls that went Emerald, she did many of these, but I would say they had like a 95% success rate at getting the person silver before the night was over. And then a couple of my other girls did larger team events. They did several a week where they would plug different people together. And that also was really successful, and it always, the event always ended with some type of question, like, what they say, like, share your health goals, or what are some things that you want to improve upon in your health. And then after they saw that, the sponsor and whoever the sponsor above them was, like whoever was helping to lead the group, or, just knew it. Obviously, like if you just signed somebody, you would need to do this with them. But then you would message that person in a 3-way message and be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Wasn't that so much fun? I see that you're struggling with energy. Would you be open to trying this? We have 2 options, and they're only given 2 options. We have 2 options. We have active and slim, whatever it may be. And then they would share like, hey, we have this amazing deal right now. We'd love to get you signed up so you can try this. We have a 60-day money back guarantee. But again, they were getting these people into action right away, as soon as possible, getting those conversations going for them. Because even though, all of my girls and my husband who took dual ranks last month, they have been with the company over 3 years. So these aren't like brand new accounts that were in crazy momentum. They've been here between 3 and 5 years. So a lot of their warm market was tapped. So they knew if someone new came in and they started asking them to add people from their network to these events, that would open up in a huge way, because even though they might not want to do it, they might see somebody in the group like interacting and having fun, and then being like, oh my God, yeah, I could make $300. I know some people. And then they would just say, oh, we're going to have a party for you too. And I think a lot of times at least the conversation on my team has always been like, oh, well, we're not a party company. Like, we don't have to do this. But we've seen so much value in doing these events, like a girls' night. And even though I've had really good luck with like wellness workshops and things like that, I feel like we get a lot more momentum from one night events. Because it's less of a time commitment. People want easy and they want fast. So I think that's why that works better. But then they're thrown into a 3-way chat. They either share a testimonial, a story, a video, a screenshot of somebody saying, hey, yeah, I just lost 20 pounds last week, whatever it may be, to help bring in that third party validation. The other thing that they were doing, again, I did not personally do this. I don't want to take credit for things that I did not do, but they would message their new people right away. So, and this is obviously depending on how many people you bring in, can be pretty time consuming, but just messaging them, texting them, emailing them, through Facebook, and just saying, hey, welcome to our team. We're so excited to have you. And then offering to do an event for them. Because there are people we know that get missed. Maybe their sponsor's not super active. They just signed up a friend from school, but that sponsor's probably not going to be doing anything other than the minimum that they do every month anyways. So, you take the lead on that. I have no problem with taprooting my team if someone's not active. I will work with whoever to make sure that they can move the needle. So they would message them. And again, the goal was to get them to add 3 people, to get them to silver, to show them that things were possible, that they probably had limiting beliefs on themselves. So, and if you can get that conversation going with somebody right away who hasn't had rejection or doubts or all these things, and all they have is a win right away, then the way that they think about what we do is going to be so much more positive and motivating. And then the other thing, let me see here. I have all my notes here. Maybe I covered it. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure, like, it's so important to know that our people need a game plan. We have to kind of get out of the thought process that they know what they're doing. We have to actually assume that everybody doesn't know anything. Like, they don't even know how to post on Facebook, right? Because how many times have we told our people to make their first post and you're like, oh my God, how do I tell them to take that down without like demotivating them and making them feel super deflated? Like, I know, I get it. So we just have to assume that they don't know anything. And we as leaders have to be able to get on a call or a Zoom with them as soon as possible and really, really, really give them a game plan and then figure out a way to hold them accountable. So when I did my one-on-one Zooms, I would say, okay, great. I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow and see how these conversations went. And then when I'd follow up, if they would say like, oh, I didn't do it, or, whatever, I totally get being busy. I do, but I really think that you could do this. I'm going to follow up with you in a couple hours. Okay. Here's what you need to say again. And you're just holding them accountable. And then once they get that win, they're so thankful and then they feel like they can do it. A lot of times there's like this big fear component where they feel like they just can't do it. So you have to nudge them into action. That's our job, to nudge people into action, to believe in them before they believe in themselves. And I think that that's what this month really was about for our team. And again, like having the group chat just really got people encouraged and recognized in front of other leaders, because they want to feel important in front of your other leaders too. Because we always tell them when they join this group, hey, this is a chat with me and my sister's top leaders. Like, we're so excited to have you here. It's such a big deal. Like, welcome to the big leagues. We want to make it feel special. Yeah. So last month, where's my numbers at? Oh goodness, you would think I was more prepared. Anyways, I don't know where I put it, but we had about 90 silvers. We had 10 golds, I think 6 senior golds, 7 rubies. I believe we had 6 senior rubies, and then 4 emeralds, and then 1 sapphire. And that's probably the most growth I've ever had in my entire business. And I've been doing this for 6 years. So I hope that this gives you guys hope that, like, you can come back, and it can start with you. Just to share my husband's numbers, since he went emerald, in April or in March, he ended with a little over 1,000 points. And that's where we were at most months. And it was comfortable and it was okay. Right. And in April, he ended with over 2,100 points. So he went up 1,100 points. So just flew past emerald. I know, it's crazy. And he had been senior ruby for 5 years. So I really think implementing all these things just made such a huge impact. And, a lot of these things were things that, we had done over the years, but I don't think we ever had the team on board to do these things at the same time. And I think that's what really made the difference. A lot of times you'll feel like you're spinning your wheels. And I think it's so important to always drag the sponsor into any conversation. Hey, Susie, I'm going to add your level 2 in here because, she's at ADPV. Let's give her a free active this month. How does that sound? Like, just getting that conversation going and holding them accountable too. So you're putting them into the chat, so they have to have those conversations. But yeah, so I think that that's it in a nutshell. And I hope that helps you guys.
Dawnalea.
Yeah.
I have no words. Like, the crazy thing is what I do have words. And the crazy thing is everything that you're saying, the leaders in this group, it is the very thing that got us to emerald and to sapphire and to diamond. Like, it's exactly what we were doing. It's just a good refresher of complacency.
Yep.
And also just like wanting your people to run, for goodness sakes, just like the burnout and stuff.
Yep.
So I love that, that challenge to kind of press forward. So I have a Zoom at 2, but can we have you for like 10 more minutes? Can I just like rapid fire some questions?
Sure, I'll do my best.
Okay. Also, Cash's numbers, I think you had shared with me, I just want them to know this too, that in March, he had added like 17 people to his team. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I just looked back over it and it was 14 people. And then last month we added 268. I know.
Okay. I'm going to rapid fire. And then when I finish my rapid fire, if you guys have any other questions, ask away. So when you guys were going line by line in your virtual office, when you reached out to people, was it just, you were mostly just going line by line and offering them the free product, right? If they were close.
Yeah.
And then if they hadn't ordered in a long time, you were having that fresh start conversation with them.
Yeah, so it was a little of both. So if they were somebody who had been at like 0 PV for a long time, they weren't really offered anything, but they were offered a fresh start. Like, hey, do you have any new health goals or financial goals? You know, I'd love to show you what we're doing now, kind of something like that. I'd love to introduce you to new products. Or we had a lot of the stimulus conversation because they had the ability now to earn so much more money than before. And then if it was somebody who like was religiously like 70 or 80 PV or 90 PV, then we were offering them something. If it was somebody who we knew would just go in and order, who will sometimes order on the last day of the month, not so much. But I would have my leaders go through and figure out like who were their chronic under 100 PVers, and then you could account for those points early on instead of doing that like catch up at the end of the month when you're trying to rank. You're like, okay, this person's at 96. Like it just kind of took some of that like stress out at the end of the month.
Okay, I love that. Posting on Facebook. You said that you were putting people in chats and you were challenging them to do a personal post and a Plexus post, every day through the end of the month. What kind of Plexus posts were you feeding to your team? What were you guys finding gain the most traction? Were you encouraging them to make them all super personal? Were you giving them testimonials? What were y'all giving them?
Yeah, it's a little combination of both. They also needed to do a Plexus story every single day. So the one Plexus group, like the story group, I'm not even sure who runs it, but it's amazing. So we would just pick stories off there and give it to them to do for the day. I really think people get the most traction from polls on the stories. And then they would have a reason to message people. So we would say like, hey, what did you put for your poll? And then we would come up with what to say. Of course, like vulnerable posts, we'd encourage them to do that at least once a week because people know like when you're copying, pasting something or when it's your story. And I would always tell my people with the algorithm, like, don't copy this, like take this. And then I want you to look at it on like the computer or somewhere else. And I need you to type this out because the algorithms know when you copy something, if you have like a 6-sentence statement that you're putting out there and it takes you 1 second to hit post, then the algorithm knows that you just copied it. So even though you're copying it, make sure you actually type it out because then Facebook thinks that like you're actually typing that fresh. So I think that was really important too for them to get views on things.
Okay, I love that. When you went to your team and you guys had the conversation of like, everyone is going to add 30. We are going to do this. Do you feel like the way that really grabbed hold was mostly through the one-on-ones and the chats? Was there anything on your team page that you did that got people excited and on board and thinking, I want to be a part of this team adding 30?
So on the team page, we'll usually say something like, here's the incentives this month. Who wants to earn this? And then tag your sponsor, because we want the sponsor to know that they have the intentions to do that. But I would say the majority of this happened behind the scenes, like one-on-one or in our leaders chat, because then they had that reach to go to their teams where I have the reach to go to my level ones directly and have that conversation with them.
Okay, when y'all were doing, whenever you guys were reaching out to new people right away and saying like, hey, we're so excited to have you, let's get your friends together tomorrow night. At that time in that conversation, were you mentioning, and if 3 jump in and join you, you're going to earn $300? Like, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, that conversation wasn't had because I don't believe that. So I didn't do this personally, but a lot of my girls did that ranked. I don't believe that they wanted people to have any hesitations going into it, to feel like they had to sell. They just were making it fun. Hey, we're going to throw you a girls' night tomorrow night.
Was there any incentive? Like, I would feel like there would need to be like, and if you do, I'll give you a free bag of active, or like I would think in the world of social media and people throwing people into groups and parties and stuff like that, there would have to be some, even back in the party days, it would be like, host a party for me and you'll get some free product.
Right. Yeah. So not that I know of, which is crazy, right? But I really think that the excitement is what fueled that. And then there were some multiple giveaways inside of that event then later for their people that they were inviting.
Would you be open to adding me to just one of those parties, and then I can kind of feed that out to my people? I would know that that would be like the main question that all of them would have, would be like,
right.
What is the games? What are the posts? What are they doing? How are they making them work? How are they getting people silver? If I get to one, then I can protect you at all, you know what, but like block that conversation from happening, and I can just feed that.
I will ask my girl, yes.
Okay, tell her I'll just be a little fly on the wall and grateful. And
I mean, it's really basic. It's literally like 3 lives, maybe 2 posts, and then a couple games. Like, oh, who has the craziest thing in their purse? Run and get your purse, take a picture, you know, like things like that. Like just to get people interactive. And it's like, I think we overkill it a lot with like 12 plexus posts and yeah. So they just wanted to make it fun. Like that was the whole idea.
Okay. I'm all about simplicity. Okay, those were my questions. Y'all have like 7 minutes. Do you have any questions y'all want to ask Dawnalea?
I had a quick Oh, is there more than one person talking?
No, go ahead, Amber.
Go ahead. Just like when you put all of your leaders in the group, was that from like you down? Like how many people are in that? Does it, you know, is it just exciting and people posting, or does it get too crowded, or how many are in that?
Yeah, so let me see. I think we have about 30 in a chat. It's just in a Facebook chat. And it's me and my sister's main people. So at first we did it. It's never somebody who holds a rank just because they hold a rank. It's always people who have like personal growth every single month. And I would say we have about 30 to 40 people in there. So a lot of times our team will come to us and say, hey, Sarah's growing so much. She just went gold. She added like 6 people last month. She's really getting it. And we'll be like, okay, great. Invite her. So that's kind of how it evolved. So we've had this chat now for about 6 months.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah. And I'll say we used to have like multiple chats. Like we had ranked chats where everybody who was trying to go silver or gold or senior gold would all get in there. They would encourage each other. But we didn't quite have the same response that we're having now. And I'm not quite sure why. Maybe, you know, everything's so different times, but this seems to work really, really well for us.
I just had a quick question back to the girls' night out. Did the invitation, like, was it a Plexus girls' night out? Like, did they know, the people coming know that it was a Plexus event, or was it really pitched as something that, like, I'm just wondering, like, did it seem sneaky in any way? Like, they're there and like, oh my gosh, now I'm getting told about Plexus and I had no idea.
Yeah, no, they will tell them that they're going to focus on ways to stay healthy. Yeah.
Hopefully your girl will add me to one. Tell her I'll send her a present.
Okay.
Tell her to be one Plexus. I'll be her biggest fan forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
What else do you guys?
I have a quick question. Okay, so on like the PV where you give the prizes or you give them a bag of active or something, are you saying if you get your order to 100, then I'll give you a free bag of active?
Nope.
Is that what you're doing?
Nope. They're just gifted that, and then they need to go in and order it, and then they're reimbursed either through an incentive code or through, you know, however you want to. Yeah. So we weren't making them go ahead and order something. We wanted to gift it to them so that they could hopefully fall in love with it and then order that the next month.
I love it.
Okay.
Like, if that is a strategy, which I think it should be, that I think we should all be hitting. Y'all, with the new flavor of active right now, we need to have our list ready, you know, to go for on the 11th. But And then keeping a really good follow-up list, right? So Dawnalea and her team, hopefully this month, are going back to those people. Do you love it? Tell me what your favorite thing was about this product. Did you get it? Are you using it? And hopefully getting them to add it to subscription. So I love that. Okay, what else? Do y'all have any other questions? No? Okay, I have no words. I mean, I know how stressful it, when you have a team in momentum and you have a big team, and to take an hour out of your day to invest in people that benefit you zero. Like, please do not think that we take that for granted or take that lightly. Like, I could just cry with gratitude over this, Dawnalea.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I'm serious. And I know that it's going to make a big difference. I could see like light bulbs going off, and I took 3 pages of notes. And so I'm really, really grateful for you. Thank you. Like,
You're
from the bottom of
welcome.
my heart. Thank you so, so much. And you guys, let's go. You know, like, there is no, I keep telling them, God is going to move mountains this month. We are all exactly where you were with your team last month. That's where we are in mindset right now, and in just being ready to go. So
I agree. You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
bye, y'all.
Welcome.